proven design principles and transform DAO slides into powerful visual stories. Okay. So, like it was promised in the main lecture, I said that there will be two subsections in this particular lecture where we will do the actual demonstration of how to create or how to animate or transition some of these concepts that we are talking about. So we want to be more practical, and I hope after this practice you'll be able to sharpen your skills and be able to do and accomplish the same skill set. So what is in here for you? So welcome to lecture 8, and this is a demo presentation. So we are going to do some demonstration that is expected to give you a glimpse of how some of these skills can be done in a simple but effective way. Okay, so let's move to purposeful animation. So we are still maintaining some of the slides, because this is what we are talking about. So this is about purposeful animation for audience engagement. So we are going to animate some elements and objects, and you will be able to see and be able to apply them in your next engagements. So moving forward, we want to remind you about the 4 purposes of animations that we covered in the main lecture. Okay, can you remember the first one? The first one, we said the first purpose of animation is to direct the attention of your audience. And I'm sure you remember how this was properly demonstrated, and I'm sure you've already started to try that one out. Then secondly, we talked about explaining a process, and this is where we say you can actually animate a flowchart step by step. And this is where this particular sub-presentation is focusing on. We want to explain a process using a step-by-step procedure. So this is why we have created this particular subsection. And then the third, which will come after this, is where you need to review a relationship. Now in this one, we said you can actually use the morph transition, and immediately after this sub-presentation, there is another sub-presentation that will come to talk about revealing a relationship, where the morph transition will be used. And then lastly, from the main lecture, we said the other purpose of creating animations is to maintain a narrative flow. And like I said again, a narrative flow, this one will be a project that will be given to you at the end of the entire lecture, so that you have a feel of how to do that. So let's move to the next slide. So now this is lecture 8, sub-objective. So the main objective of this sub-lecture is to demonstrate. Okay, we want to demonstrate explaining a process. This can be an engineering process, it can be a scientific process, it can be any other process that you want to demonstrate. It can actually be demonstrated using PowerPoint in a much more effective way. So this is the main focus of this particular presentation. We want to explain a process step by step. Okay, step by step. So let's move to the next slide. So purpose number 2, explaining a process. So here we want to look at one specific feature of PowerPoint that you can use. So we are saying processes are best displayed using specific PowerPoint features. So that is why it is important to know what type of feature you can use in a particular slide. So let's say we have an idea of somebody wanting to order coffee. So this is a universal idea because coffee is everywhere. So we have an idea of a lady, okay, going into a coffee shop, arrives in the coffee shop. She needs to make a decision on what type of coffee that she wants. So she must choose what type of coffee she wants. Then the coffee is given to her. Then she sits and enjoys the coffee. So this is a simple process, 4-step process, 5, 6, 7 processes involved. So how can this be demonstrated in a flow chart? Okay, So this is where we go in the next slide. So here comes a process. So in this particular demonstration, we are saying that, of course, it starts by making a decision to order the coffee. That's the first step. Then the second step, a decision must be made. Is it iced coffee or is it hot coffee? So once that decision is made, if the hot coffee is what has to be ordered, then another decision must be, or a decision after the decision has been made, then we have to make a choice. Is it brewed coffee? Okay, if it's on the other side, a brewed and cool coffee. Okay, going on the right side, and then coming on the left side again, if it's brewed coffee, can we add some milk? Can we add some sugar? If it's brewed and cool coffee, again, can we add milk? Can we add sugar? And then it ends by drinking and enjoying the coffee that way. So now what we are saying is this is a simplified process starting here and ending there. So how can this be done in PowerPoint? Okay, so we move to the next slide, which is saying pre-demonstrated example. So in the pre-demonstrated example, okay, in the pre-demonstrated example, what you see here, okay, what you see here has already been done in the pre-demonstrated example. Okay, so what has been done? So what we have done is we are going to show you how this can be done, and then after that it will be followed by a live demonstration. Okay, so let us move straight away into the pre-demonstrated example. So the first stage, we are saying example demonstration explaining a process. So the first stage starts here. Okay, start, decide to order. Okay, remember this is pre-recorded and it is already done, and then we just want to show you how it works. So after the decision to order is made, we see an animation there going into the decision box where hot or iced coffee has to be chosen. And then after that decision is made, we move to the left side. And then from the left side, we have another box there showing brewed coffee. Okay, if it's not that, then we move to the right. You see it is animated. Then we have another box showing brew and cool coffee. Okay, then we move to the left side and the right side, both together pointing downwards. Are you able to remember the box that was down there? Okay, it was actually add milk and or sugar, and then after that we have another animation there, and then enjoy your drink. So that is a simple process of how this can be demonstrated. So just to go it a little bit through again, let me just reverse it a little bit. We start with a decision, we move down to the left. You see that? You move that, you move that. So as you are doing that, explaining a process to your audience, you're actually in control and you're able to take them step by step. Because once you do things step by step, you actually help your audience to flow with you. And that is the advantage of using animations. Okay, so you allow your audience to flow with you and you explain every stage at every point, and you flow together, and the learning and the information is transmitted accurately and memorable. Okay, so that is the power of animation. It helps us to control the flow of information, and we help the audience to see what they need to see at a particular time. Okay, so now let's move to a live demonstration. Okay, so in this live demonstration, I'm going to show you exactly how a simple animated slide like that one can be done. Okay, so let us move straight away into the live demonstration. Okay, so on this particular slide, what we have done is we've already put the different pieces together. These are the different pieces that we need to use in our live demonstration. As you can see, we've got all the pieces together here. Let's go into the live demonstration, and this live demonstration we are going to demonstrate how that was actually accomplished. So let's move. So in this slide explaining the process, we have put all the 5 pieces together already so that it will be easier for us to go straight into demonstration. So we've got that piece, which was actually on top. Then we have another piece, another piece, another piece, and another piece. So these are the 5 pieces that we need in our live demonstration. So now, to show how this one was done, let me end the presentation and then do a live presentation. Okay, so here we are now live. So how do we start? So we have the first step here. We put it on top. Okay, I'm sure you remember that. Then this was followed by where a decision has to be made. Okay, we put it slightly down there. Then we have the brew coffee was on the left side. I'm sure you remember that. Then we have brew and cook coffee. This was on the right side. Okay, so we put it there. And then we had add milk or coffee. We put it there, and then it ends there. Okay, so we rearrange our objects one by one like that. Okay, they may not be perfectly arranged, but I'm sure you'll be able to get the concept. So here we go now. Okay, so let's just move this one a little bit up there. Okay, so now this needs to be animated. Okay, that's the whole purpose of doing this. We need to animate this step by step so that we hold the attention of the audience and be able to control the flow of information. Okay, so after rearranging this together, we need now to bring in the arrows. Okay, so we go to insert, or you can, if you're able to see it here, it's actually here. We can pick either this one or that one. Okay, or let's just go to insert. Under insert, okay, under insert, then you come to shapes. Under shapes, you've got the arrows that we can pick. If you want, you can get the down arrow, the block arrows from here, but let's just use this one. So pick this one, the simplest one. So we click here and then we draw it here. Okay, we draw it here. Now you can change the color. As remember, it must be selected like that. Then we change the color to what will be visible, like this one. Okay, after we do this, so this is the first arrow. Now we need another arrow. So we have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 7 arrows. So to proceed quickly, you may have to just duplicate this. So click on it, then press the control key on the keyboard. As you can see, there is a plus sign next to the pointer. Then I drag the mouse to create another arrow without releasing the control key on my keyboard, and then pressing on my mouse again. I create another arrow, and then I create another arrow, and then I create another arrow, and then I create an arrow. If we create more arrows than are necessary, then of course we can just delete the extra arrows. Okay, so now let's begin to put these arrows between the boxes. So we bring this one here. Okay, this one is pointing here. Okay, the distance between the two actually seem to be a little bit smaller. It may not be able to show the effect quite well, so we need to make it a little bit longer so that we can actually see the effect better. Okay, so let us just realign it a little bit so that we move. Okay, so perfectly done. Then you may also notice that we need a similar arrow like this one just down here. So what we do is we can actually just get this one, click on it, control key, then drag it down here so that you have it done already. Okay, so we have 2 done already. Then we get the other one, we bring it here, then we hold the other end here, and then point it to the decision point here. Okay, of course this one need to move a little bit, just a little bit, so that it comes down at an angle where we'll be able to see the animation perfectly well. Again, this is almost the same length, so control key on the keyboard, then move it to the right, point it here, and then hold the other end, and then just point it from here. Okay, so we are still just constructing these arrows, and then we'll be able to animate them later. Okay, so it points there. Okay, the next, again here the space is a little bit smaller, but anyway we can still proceed since we are just demonstrating how this this can be done. Okay, so let me just do a little bit also of some rearrangement here. Okay, so we get another arrow here, then we bring it here. Of course, this will drop from here to add milk. Okay, we need another one here, this side. Okay, we need another one this side, so we hold the other end and then point it this side. Okay, as you can see, this is something that requires some time and some patience for you to do it properly. Okay, then of course we have now all the arrows are in place. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 arrows all together in this particular simple demonstration. So for the extra ones, we delete it, and then we delete this one as well. So we have now interconnected all these elements using. Now, the next thing that we need to do is to, can you guess? We need to animate them. Okay, so we start with animating the first stage. So how do we animate this one? Okay, so we first select it, then we go to animations. Okay, so having perfectly rearranged all the elements and having put all the arrows together, the next thing that we need to do is to animate them. Okay, so we go to the first object. So we click on it, and then this object must first appear. Okay, so we go to appear. So we click on appear. So you see the number 1 added. So the first animation is added. Next, after this appear, we need to see the arrow now showing the next stage. So this arrow must wipe. Okay, this arrow must wipe. Now, when it wipes, it must actually wipe downwards. So is it wiping downwards? So let's check here. Under effects, we come here and then we choose from top. So it must show like that, as you can see. Then after this one must appear. So we click on appear. That's number 3. Then after this one appears, then we have the arrow going to the left. This one must wipe. Okay, and again we say wipe from the top, so it should go like that. Okay, after it wipes like that, then the next one must appear. Okay, so again we go to appear. That's number 5. Then we come to the right. This one must wipe. Okay, and it must wipe from the top. Then after this is done, this one must appear. That one should appear. Okay, and then do you remember what happened here? What happened here is before this one appeared was that actually this one and this one both wiped at the same time. So how do we do it? So we need to select these two at the same time. So press the Control key on the keyboard, choose your first arrow, and then click on the second arrow. So both have been selected at once. Then release the keyboard, the Control key, and then go to wipe. Okay, and then we change to from top, as you can see going down. After that stage, then this one will appear. So we click on appear. Then this one will do what? This one will wipe. Okay, and then it has to wipe from the top. Okay, and then lastly, this one will then appear. Okay, as you can see, this has taken a total of about 11 animations. So it actually requires a lot of work and a lot of patience and a lot of practice. So having done that, now let us see how this one will run. So we go to slideshow from current. So now let's run this and see how this process is explained. So we begin. So we click. So the slide comes. Okay. We're explaining the process now step by step. Then we have to start by making a decision to order. Then this is followed by that. As you can see, it's moving down. Then we have a decision coming. We click a hot or ice. Then we have to go to the left side. The step-by-step explanation of a process. Okay? Step-by-step explanation of a process that we just created. As you can see, it is moving smoothly and as planned. So this is how we use animations step by step Step-by-step demonstration of a process makes it easier to understand. Okay, let me just go through it again. I click, you go to the next step, you explain that process, you go to the left side, you explain why that is happening. It can be any process, it can be a scientific process, it can be a biological process. Once you explain it step by step like this, it becomes easier for your audience to follow through. You hold their attention, you avoid them reading in advance, and everything flows as smoothly as it is. It takes time and patience. So that is how this can accurately be done using animations. And I'm sure you have seen that it is actually the best way of presenting information. The only thing that it requires time for you to plan for it, and it also requires that you are patient and have in mind the audience that will be listening to you. So thank you for particular demonstration, and thank you so much for your time. See you in the next demonstration.